Hopefully the mingling was successful and you enjoyed that. After Christine's very inspiring talk about her personal experience and her career and her advice, we thought it would be a great idea to invite someone who is actually an expert in and truly enthusiastic about career development and opportunities and progression. I'm going to introduce very briefly Anne Pickering, who is the HR director for Telefonica. Anne joined Telefonica O2 in 2004 and was appointed to the board in 2008. Prior to this, she worked for Marks & Spencer's, Fidelity and Steria, and she's a chartered fellow of the Institute of Personal Development. Which is the thing that's quite impressive is since joining Telefonica, the company has achieved top 20 place 3 times in the Sunday Times top 100 employers in the UK, which I thought was very impressive, and 8th place in the UK best places to work. So there's definitely something that she must be doing right. It's very good. Outside Telefonica, Anne is also a board member of the Unlock the Cure Appeal, which is a breast cancer charity. She's the chair of the advisory board of Sheffield University Business School as well. So Anne will be sharing with us as well some part of her career journey, but it's also about learnings, top tips and tools, and what she might have done differently as well. The idea is hopefully to give you a bit of tips and maybe things that you can take away tonight and that helps you kickstart your career path and taking control of your career. So enjoy and welcome, Anne.
Thank you. So I'm not going to use a microphone because you'll realise very quickly that I don't need to, which is slightly embarrassing following Christine, but there you go. And interestingly, just picking up on something that Christine said earlier, the reason why I'm here today is actually because of networking, really, isn't it? So we used to work together. We both know Sherilyn, and it was just as a combination of various conversations that we hooked up, and I'm here. So, you know, I'm not a great fan of standing in a room with a group of people I don't know and going up to them saying, "Who are you?" That's not what I think networking is, but actually this is a cracking example of what networking is all about, interestingly. So yes, I'd love to look like that, girls. I'd love to put my spangly knickers over my tights and look like that, but sadly I don't. But the reason I like that slide, it goes to the heart of something that I think is really important. I suspect there's not a woman in this room that at some time or other, or even more regularly than that, doesn't have self-confidence issues. And you know, I could look back on my career and pinpoint where I have real self-confidence issues, and they're not always where you expect, I realise. You know, I've set up women in leadership programs in various organisations. I do lots of speaking to people like yourselves. And you know, it really does appear that the heart of one of the challenges that we have as a gender, actually, is self-confidence. And you know, it drives me insane. You know, but at the same time, I get it because you know there are moments now that I sit there thinking, "Oh God, I don't think I can do this." So there is something about self-confidence that we, as a sex, if you like, need to address. So I guess what I'm saying to you is when you're having your moments of I can't do this, you've got to think about your superwoman moment. You've got to go lock yourself in the ladies, you've got to put your hands on your hips, and you've got to say, I can do this, okay? So if you remember nothing else about my conversation tonight, it's about superwoman in the ladies, wherever you work, okay? So that's my top tip for today. And one of the things I would say is, and again, it goes back to being a woman. You know, I'm not good enough. I can't possibly talk about my career. I can't possibly talk about what it is I want to do. One thing I would say to you is your manager, your mentor, whatever, they're not mind readers. You've got to get over yourself, and you've got to learn to start talking about what it is you want to do. Okay, and I loved Christine talking about not to plan a direction. I think that's amazing advice. You know, I would say grasp that piece of advice with both hands and think about how you're going to talk to your manager, your mentor, whoever it is, about your direction and where you want to go. It's really important. People can't read your mind. Really, really important piece of advice. Okay, And this is very much the thoughts according to Pickering, and you will realise very early on that my thoughts are very random, so hopefully they'll knit together in a vague pattern, but bear with me. So this is me on a slide, and I'm a great believer in not putting words on a slide, because they're really boring, okay? I do like the quotes though, I thought the quotes were really clever. So this is me on a slide, and this is just to give you a little bit of context. So for the uninitiated, and I hope there's not many of you, this is Liverpool. I was born in Liverpool. I'm one of 6 children. I'm from a huge Irish Catholic family. I have 51 first cousins. I kid you not, and they all look like this. I tell you what, every year in August, we all go over to this tiny village in Ireland just outside Cork, and we just land, and all my first cousins, we just land in this village and take it over. And the first time I took my husband, he's like, holy shit, they look like you. Every man's dream, I tell them. But there is something about coming from a big family that makes you very robust, and I'm one of 5 girls and a boy, so my brother, before you ask, my brother was number 3, everyone assumes he was number 6, because my parents kept trying for a boy. No, they were just Irish Catholics. So as a result, well not as a result, but I went to a grammar school and I was educated by nuns. I actually have 2 aunts who are nuns, so I'm a big fan of nuns. What's not to like about a nun, I say? Love nuns. And I started my career in Marks and Sparks, so went to school in a convent grammar school. Probably didn't achieve what I should have done because I was just too easily distracted, very sporty, became head girl, captained the hockey team, all that, whatever. Went to university to do English because I did English A-level and I love literature. Got to the end of my 3rd year at university, I thought, holy shit, what am I going to do with my life? And during my summer holidays in Liverpool, I used to work in Marks and Sparks, so Christmas, summer, Easter. So I thought, well, you know what, it's really quite interesting. Customers are really entertaining. 2 days are never the same. You're not sitting at the same desk. Applied for the graduate scheme and got on, which was great. At the time, it really was one of those ones to get on. So I was very, very lucky. And I had a fabulous few years at Marks. One of the great learnings from Marks, and I hope I've tried to instill it into the graduate training programme in O2, was they gave you so much responsibility at such an early age. At the age of 23, on a Saturday, I was running the store with the help of a supervisor. What did I know about running a store in Luton? Shoplifters and all sorts. Fascinating. Absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it. And you know what, girls? The skills you learn in a place like Marks and Spencer stay with you. So I can still fold a jumper, pop it in my wardrobe, and never lose. You never ever lose those sorts of skills. Seriously, so I love Marks. I'm a real fresh air fiend. That's Paddy, my dog. We love Paddy. Paddy's nearly 12. Deaf, stupid, but very, very handsome. And I spend a lot of my time, my family home's up in the Peak District, just outside to the west of Sheffield, so I live right on the edge of the Peak District, which I absolutely love. And the 2 divine creatures down at the bottom are my sons. So this is Jack, who is now 25, and this is Rory, who's 23. And Jack's out working now in Kuala Lumpur, and Rory's just finished on a graduate scheme. And one of the great things about my career is I always work for organisations that were really fabulous about you having a career and having a family, which was really, really important to me. I remember when I went for my interview for the job in O2, I sat down with the HR director, the group HR director at the time, and I said to him, Andrew, I have a great work-life balance in my current role. I was working for it started off as FI Group, some of you might have heard it. It was founded by a woman, then became Zansa, and at the moment, now it's called Stereo, so it was an IT services organisation. And with it having a female CEO, they really got the fact that there was more to life than just work. Having a family was was fine. Anyway, I remember sitting down with the group HR director of O2, being interviewed, and I said to him, Andrew, I have really, I've got a work-life balance at the moment. I've got 2 boys I've brought into this world. I want to spend some time with them. Will I have that sort of balance in O2? And he gave me a bit of advice which I will never forget. He said to me, Anne, we will give you every gadget you need to do your job, but at the end of the day, the only person who can sort out your work-life balance is you. You're the person in control of that. And do you know what? It's dead right. Now, it might mean that you need a bit of confidence to speak up about it, but at the end of the day, it's down to you to manage your work-life balance. And as I say, it might need courage, it might need confidence, but it's yours to manage. And it's one bit of advice that stayed with me, and I am absolutely ruthless about it. Ruthless about my PA, drives her insane, but ruthless is a good thing. So, if we move on to our next slide. It's okay to be different. In fact, it's actually quite good to be different. It's actually okay to stand out. It's okay to have different thoughts and not be one of the crowd. And you know, you often hear women saying, you know, if I'm going to make it to the boardroom, I've got to be a real ball break, I've got to wear the power suits and all that sort of stuff. Absolutely not. I think what's really important is, yes, dare to be different, but most importantly, dare to be yourself, because that's really important. And the number of times I have conversations with really talented women who almost get to the front door of the organisation they're working for, leave behind that person who they are, and walk across the threshold and become this amazing power person or whatever. And you can't sustain that. You can't sustain being someone you're not. So there's something about, as a woman, starting to become comfortable with who you are. That doesn't mean you can't develop, it doesn't mean you can't work on things you want to change or perhaps turn the heat up on, and things perhaps you want to dial down on. But at the end of the day, we need to get to a position where you feel comfortable about being who you are and being yourself. It is really important. As I say, I've seen too many people who've almost had a split personality. By the time they get home, they don't know whether they've got their work hat on or their home hat on. It's about saying, you know what, it's okay to be you, and you can just develop or you can just shift it. But, you know, just being yourself is absolutely okay. And getting your head around that, I think, is really important. And I've been doing some work, I don't know if you know, but we did some work with CIPD in 02 about, we did a report called Breaking the Boardroom, and we looked at the fact that, you know, Lord Davis set a target of 25%, and yeah, we got there, but you know what, that's just the beginning. We've got a long way to go, Lord Davis, don't sit back and pat yourself on the back too quickly. It's just a start. But I found an interesting quote from a woman called Christine O'Brien, and she's a partner at Bakers and McKenzie, which is one of the top lawyers, the top law firms in the company. And she said, as a woman, you must be confident of your own leadership style. Decide what it is, work at it tirelessly, then project it. And that's a really good quote. What is it, who you are, what's the essence of you, and think about how you're going to get that across. Because I bet you, it's fabulous, okay? So just think about, you know, what it is, what you want your style to be, and go out there and make sure, you know, you project it. I think it's really important. The other thing I would say to you is when you're planning, well, I love the way Christian talks about not planning your career but getting a direction of travel. The thing you have to remember, and irrespective of your gender, is most people will assume that you can do a good job, okay? That's almost the given when you're thinking about your direction of travel. Assume that people will think you can do a good job. But actually that's not enough, okay? It's the other stuff that's going to stand out and make a difference. It's going to be about perhaps your personal impact, and Christine talked about how she's worked on that. That's really important. What's your personal brand? Now, I don't mean, you know, looking gorgeous. It's not about, you know, spending a fortune on clothes. It's not about being a size 8. It's about you and the impact you make, okay? Think about the people that you know that make a big impact. I always say to my guys in O2, any of you have been to our offices, we've got a beautiful reception area and an atrium. And I always say to the women who are on my women leadership course, what is it you're thinking when you walk across that atrium? And they look at me and I say, what do you think the people are thinking about you when you walk across that atrium? Because they are watching you. And I know, rightly or wrong, this is not me being arrogant, every time I walk across that atrium to go to Costa Coffee, people are looking at me. If I've got a gob on, as we say in Liverpool, they're thinking, what's she unhappy about? Yeah? If my boss, the gorgeous Ronan Dunn, hasn't shaved, they're saying to him, oh, he hasn't shaved. What's that about? Because actually, you've got the extra 20 minutes in bed and it can be asked, but actually, it's true, and it's my...
Is it okay to
Please, yeah.
I kind of agree and don't, because what I notice on the UK market, they don't want you to be different. They want to be exactly the same person they want to hire. The companies want to hire from direct competitors. They want to specifically match the requirement list, like 55 of them. And a headhunter told me, if you're a 90% match, is not enough. You want 100%.
Wow.
And then what I think the UK market is tremendously niche and not allowing any freedom of movement. It's just very steep in a way.
So,
and how to be different in this market.
Okay, that's really, really interesting. I'll say a few things. change the headhunters you're talking to, honestly. And I'll give you some names of great headhunters, okay? Let me give you my experience, okay? When I'm looking, over the last probably 3 or 4 years, I've recruited 3 new board directors. I've gone to completely different industries. I'm not interested in people who work in telecoms, okay? We know telecoms, we know all about telecoms. You know, so I've recruited people from the water industry. Water industry, telecoms, what are you doing now? What's that about? Water industry, without water, you die. Really simple. I'm not being facetious, you know. Without water, you die. So therefore, you understand that without speaking to your customers, pretty essential, okay? And ensuring that you keep them informed about what's going on, using customer insight. So I've always gone outside our industry when I'm looking for people, so I've not gone for the same.
You're a very exceptional person.
I think we're on a journey, but I would genuinely say the headhunters, okay, let me tell you, I'm going to digress from my presentation here, so forgive me. Headhunters, Sherilyn, forgive me if I, Sheryl has worked in this world and she knows it better than me. I decided that when I was going to be recruiting for senior female talent, I was going to insist on a 50-50 gender balance shortlist, okay? Not quite sure I'm there with quotas yet, but what I do insist on is creating a level playing field for everyone, male and female. And unconscious bias is something that's really, really important. And I put all my senior leaders through unconscious bias training to make them aware of their own unconscious bias. And it's not just about male bias against women. It works the other way, girls, I can tell you, right? So female, so it works both ways. So all my senior leaders, including the board, have been through unconscious bias training. Decided, the headhunters I used, I rang them up and I said, this is the role, I briefed them on the role, 50-50 gender balance shortlist. One of the headhunting companies, international, super well known, you've all heard of them, said to me, well, Anne, if you want 50-50 gender balance, so 50% women, if you want to compromise on quality, we can find you that shortlist. Now, part of me thought, how can you have been so stupid even just to say it? You might have thought it, but the idiot said it. Right? But I share that with you. I won't share the name because there are headhunters out there who will say to you, just be the same, be like everyone else, okay? Come to me at the end of it and I'll tell you the headhunters that I believe don't behave like that, okay? But that's what you're up against, that's what we're up against. You've got headhunters who frankly can't be asked. Because you know what? It's a lot more difficult to winkle out a great woman because you all know, because of the responsibilities that tend to fall on women, I don't want to do the men in this world a disservice, present Mr. Pickering is a star, I couldn't do my job without him. It's harder to winkle out a woman for a job because of their caring responsibilities, not just parental responsibilities, all the stuff that goes with it. So to woo a woman to a senior job, you have to work a hell of a lot harder. So it's a lot harder for some headhunters to earn their money. So I say be different, and that's not, as I say, I know one bloke says, oh, I wear pink socks, that's what I do to be different. It's not, it's not about that, but there's something about, it probably is something about being yourself, I am, the person I am at home is the person I am at work. People might like that, but that's who I am and they know it, I am very straightforward, I am quite direct. Again, people mightn't like it, but they know it, and so it's not necessarily about being loved by everyone, but it's about being who you are. If you ask anybody too, they'll say, you'll speak to Anne and she will tell you how it is, and I'm okay with that. That's okay. Some people might find it a bit blunt, I'm okay with it, but that is, you could argue, me being perhaps a bit more different. And it's helpful when you're going through tough times. So when we were doing an outsource of some of our voice channels to a third party, which is something, was at the Holy Grail, the one thing the union said is, well, get Anne in here, she'll tell us how it is. So, it was, there were times when they hated me telling it how it was, I have to say, but it does have its advantage as well. So I would say, actually, dare to be different. Now, I'm not saying go out there and look like Lady Gaga. There is no, but seriously, there's a balance to be struck there. But I think it is important. And I guess I would say to you, it's not going to just happen. Again, we talked about plans, direction of travel, rather than plans, which I think is really good. But it is important. You never know what's around the corner. So, pieces of advice I give to my guys. So we have we have people on a leaders program, and I meet with them in trios. We do sort of coaching trios with them. And I had a group last week, and I said to them, have you all got an up-to-date CV? Oh, no, because I'm not looking for a job. A great CV, an up-to-date CV, is not about necessarily looking for your next job. Everyone thinks it is, right? I don't need a CV because I'm not looking for a job. Your CV should be about telling your story, and you should be able to produce that at the drop of a hat. You never know who you're going to meet in the lift, get chatting to, and they'll say, that's really interesting, send me your CV. So my piece of advice to you is, have a CV that's ready to rock and roll, okay? Just the bones of one, you never ever know. And it could be an amazing career opportunity, or it just could be a networking opportunity, it doesn't matter. Have a CV, because that is your story, and don't view it as just something you need to have ready when you're looking for another job. So that's what I mean about building readiness. External speaking. I would say to you all, set yourselves a target this year. Go and speak at one conference or meeting or something this year. You are all subject matters in something. You will know something more than anybody else in that audience. And the reason I say is, A, it gives you self-confidence, B, it gets your name out there, gets you recognised, okay? Anytime I speak at a conference or a presentation or whatever, the number of calls I get from headhunters or LinkedIn, whatever, spikes massively, okay? It just gets you out there, it gets you known, okay? And you will meet some really interesting people. And it goes back to that networking. People come up to you and say, oh my God, that was amazing. I'd love to learn a bit more about that. Could I speak to you? That's networking. They're not looking to sell you anything necessarily. So honestly, and I set it for all my direct reports, go and find one conference to speak at on something. And every one of them came back and went, God, I was dreading it, but oh wow, I really enjoyed it. Does their self-confidence a whole load of good, gets their name out there. Find something out there and go and speak on it, because in all of you, you've got something you can talk about. And it might just be a small group, it could be a conference of 500 people, it doesn't matter. Do it for yourself. Prove to yourself that you can do it. Really, really important. And, a lot of people say, oh, I was really lucky in my career. I'm not sure it's about luck, but I think it's about when the luck comes along, being able to recognise it. I think that's really important. So, many years ago when I worked for Xansa, my boss was going off on mat leave, and I just thought, I could do this. So I went along, in advance, I sorted out my childcare, because I knew that would be an issue, because I was living in the north, and the job was in the south. Sorted out my childcare up to a point. Went along to my CEO and said, when Brenda goes on mat leave, I'd like to stand in. And you could see she hadn't even thought about it, so I made it really easy for her. And that, most importantly, that my learning there was, I realised I could do it. I realised I could actually do my boss's job. So it wasn't so much whether I did good for the company, actually, that was secondary. I realised that I could do a bigger job. And that's when I thought, oh, that's interesting, I can do it. So there is something about, it's not about being lucky, but it is about recognising that luck when it comes along and deciding, what you do with that. This is a random thought, but it's really important as I was on the train coming here. Kindness. Kindness is a much underrated value in business. Never ever underestimate it. I have got a CEO who's the kindest man I know. Now don't get me wrong, he's as hard as nails. He could eat, he'll eat his granny to, don't get me wrong, he's a really amazing, no, but he's an amazing businessman, don't get me wrong, extremely highly thought of, but he's kind, okay? And how you treat your employees in their time of need is how your company will be judged. And I really do believe that. So for me, never ever forget that kindness is really important. Male or female, kindness is a much underrated value. And I know that's a bit random, but I think it's something for me that's really important. And the reason I know that is, and I tell you this not so that you feel sorry for it, but it's really important. I lost two sisters in the space of 6 months, right? Which is about as shit as it gets when that sort of thing happens. And O2 was so good to me. They almost metaphorically put their arms around me. 7,500 employees, literally, and I could feel it. And they just so looked after me. It was just, and the loyalty and the love I felt for that company, for the way they looked after me, I'll never forget. And that's why kindness is important. Because not only is it the right thing to do, by the way, but it will repay in spades. Because at the end of the day, it's just a job. There is something about keeping a sense of perspective. When you lose two sisters, you do actually gain a sense of perspective. And now I just think, you will often hear me saying to my team, you know what, no one's died here, let's just sort out what's gone wrong, let's fix it and move on. But hey, let's make sure it doesn't happen again. So a sense of perspective, and I learned the hard way, but a sense of perspective in business is really, really important. You know, you see people sweating over a mistake. I think, Christ, I'm going to tell my manager, you know, no one should feel like that. You know, at the end of the day, we're just human beings here. We're all put on this world. We get one shot. You know, let's just you know, keep a sense of perspective and treat our people well. Random thought from Pickering. 4 minutes, oh my God, let's be really quickly. Okay, next slide. And it is a volatile world out there, you know, therefore you have to be able to be agile and change direction when required. It's really important. The most important learning I had was resilience. You will have disappointments along the way. How you cope with those disappointments is going to make the difference. So let me tell you my story. I joined O2 in 2004, and around about end of 2006, they decided to go out and find a UK HR director. I was running customer service and retail at the time in HR. Didn't bother to tell me they were going out to find a UK HR director. Bit of a piss, if I'm honest, late. Found out because something came across my desk that shouldn't. Rang my boss, had a Barney. They said, well, we've recruited someone and he starts in 3 weeks' time. And I put the phone down and I thought, this is interesting. What do I do? And I went through the whole thing about, oh, I'm just going to leave because they didn't tell me about it. And, you know, and then I thought, you know what, grow up. And I looked at the 80-20 rule. 80% of everything about O2 was right. You know, my boss was okay, despite the fact he did that. But he was basically a good man. Great company, great values, great people, fascinating industry. So I thought, you know, get over yourself. But it's very important that so I had a choice, stay and sulk. And I can do sulk big time. Reform sulk ladies, not great. No, seriously, I was a big sulker, so do I stay and sulk? Do I go because they didn't want me to do that big job, they didn't talk about it? Or do I stay with good grace? And I just thought, because of the 80-20, I stayed with good grace, and that was really important. And I genuinely did stay feeling very positive. I have to say, a new guy walked in and I thought, oh. 6 months. 7 months later. Yeah, but listen, 7 months later, I got a call to say, congratulations. Oh, and by the way, I'm not putting it on the board. Bugger! Bugger, bugger, bugger. You know, I got that close and they didn't put it on the board. And I'm thinking, what? Just as I got close to everything that I thought I wanted, it didn't happen. And I thought, what do I do? You know, and then I thought, and God love it, by this time my dear old mum was in a hospice, and I thought, what would Nancy say? What would my mother say? She'd say, get out there, girl, and show him. And that's what I did. 6 months later, they put it back on the board. So there is something about having the resilience not to take your baton, not to sulk, and you know, don't put you in the same category as me, but it was very tempting to do both of those, and I didn't, and I'm really glad I didn't. So there is something about just thinking about, if everything else works, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And on the flip side, I would say, is a lot of people know how to join a company with dignity. Very few people know how to leave a company with dignity. And I say to you all, when the time comes, no matter what you feel like, grit those teeth, smile, and be charming, because you never know who you're going to meet.
I think any job.
And any job. This is a really small world. So leave, and the number of times I've taken tends to be men around the back of the bike sheds to say, listen, sunshine, you're not doing yourself any favours here. Leave this company with dignity and a smile, because otherwise it's going to come back and bite you so hard. And it's, honestly, no matter what you feel and what you think, smile and leave it with dignity, because people are watching and you never know who you're going to meet. It's really, really important. And I think the other thing I would say is your career is a marathon, it's not a sprint. And think of it in that way. So when my kids were those two gorgeous creatures, when they were young, I had a job that got me home most nights, it was regular, you know, it was enjoyable, it kept everything going. So think about your career, don't just think about your career in isolation, think about your career, you know, in relation to you and your life. At the end of the day, I would say you can have it all, but not all at the same time. Yeah, and whenever I see it tends to be a male trait. People who they've got their eye on that, I'm going to get that job as a CEO, and I'm going to go for it. Something falls down, and if I'm honest, it's usually a relationship. No relationship is worth it, or no job is worth it, I should say, sorry. Pickering's not here, fortunately. No, but seriously. And my final slide is, my final slide is a picture of the gorgeous Taylor Swift. Now you're probably sitting there thinking, what? It's something about the importance of role models, and I'll come on to why I think the beautiful Taylor is a great role model. But I think the importance of having mentors and role models is really, really important. I had the pleasure of meeting, well, I didn't meet, that's absolutely a big fat lie, being in the same room as Sheryl Sandberg when she was over in the UK just after her husband died, which was just a tragedy of enormous proportions. And I'd read a book, and I was a bit like that, you might leave the office early, but then you put the kids to bed, and then you get the laptop out. That's not work-life balance in my world, Cheryl. This is what was going on in my head. And then she started talking about how the whole culture in America and maternity leave 4 weeks, is incredibly different. But she was amazing, and here it is. You heard it from me. The Pickering's prediction. She will run for president one day. She was amazing, that woman. She was empathetic. She understood what a woman could bring, that if I'm honest, a male couldn't. She was outstanding. What a role model. I mean, I was in awe of her. She was absolutely fantastic. Miriam Durant, as many of you will know, she's probably better known, ironically, as Nick Clegg's wife. Amazing lawyer. And I held her in enormous regard until I heard her on Radio 4 the other morning. Over Christmas, they were doing guest editors. She really irritated me. She interviewed Theresa May, the Home Secretary, an amazing woman. Forget your politics, it doesn't matter. Theresa May, what a girl. Shoes, fabulous. But she simpered and said, oh, Theresa, this amazing lawyer, one of the top lawyers in the country. Oh, did the little girl inside you ever think you'd been Home Secretary? Oh. So that was a bit irritating. But what Miriam said was, this resonated with me. She didn't say this last week. I don't want to have it all. I just want to have what men have. If men choose children and a job, I want to be able to choose that too. Which is very smart, and I think that's really important. Which sort of brings me on to Taylor, and I'm going to read you out something about Taylor Swift, because this really resonated with me, even with my glasses on this small. So, the singer Taylor Swift, 25, has become an astonishing role model. She's taken on the most powerful company in the world, which, as you know, is Apple, and politely but firmly won. Writing in an open letter, she told the company that it was shocking not to pay royalties to musicians. Her comments, she explained, were not those of a spoilt, petulant child. She said, I'm on my 5th album, I support myself, my band, my crew and my management team by playing live. I'm not a Disney princess trapped by an industry out of control on drinking drugs. I'm a singer, a businesswoman, I'm at the height of my power, and let's face it, she was dominating in her space. And, that's what she did. She took on this 25-year-old, what most men probably thought was just some blonde bimbo, took on the most powerful company in the world and won. She was amazing when you look back and think about what she did. So I say to you all, ladies and gentlemen, when the chips are down, if it's not Superwoman, channel your inner Taylor Swift. Just remember what she did, and it'll all be fine. On that note, I'll finish.